They never turned the lights all the way on in the briefing annex. The overheads flickered, the floor vent groaned, and in the back, near the folding chairs no one preferred, sat a man no one could name. He came early, never spoke, wore a faded windbreaker and boots that looked heavier than they should. He didn't carry anything. No notebook, no patch. He just sat. Most thought he was a contractor, maybe retired base staff, harmless. The kind of figure your eyes passed over, then circled back to, for no reason at all. That morning's flight prep was standard. 2 new pilots, 1 visiting instructor. The younger one, Lieutenant Reyes, walked to the screen with quiet confidence. His voice was clean, technical. Crosswinds are running under 8. Ascent margins holding. Visuals look clean through final. He paused, clicked to the next slide, then stopped. For no clear reason. In the back row, the man had crossed his legs, a small movement. But Reyes saw something, maybe the way the boot tilted, or how the man looked not at the chart, but through it. Reyes blinked. Sorry, I lost the thread. No one said anything? Not yet. The instructor cleared his throat gently. Take your time, Lieutenant. Reyes tried again. His hands, which moments ago held the pointer steady, now rested slightly curled against the tablet, as if bracing. Afterward, Reyes passed the back row. The man was still there, still silent, but now, his hands were visible, just resting in his lap. Old scars, 2 fingers slightly bent, and a pale ring indentation, long since faded. Reyes stopped. Not fully. Just enough to let the pause hang, then nodded once. Not a greeting. Something closer to recognition. The man didn't return it. But his eyes followed Reyes as he walked away. And in that stillness, something shifted. The launch simulator glitched at 1642. It wasn't a breakdown. Not an alert. Just a 2-second stall in telemetry. Quiet enough to ignore. Subtle enough to blame on software lag. Everyone kept talking. Everyone except the man in the back. He leaned forward slightly. 1 movement. His boot didn't move, but his fingers touched the edge of the chair in front of him, tapping once. Slow. Tap. Pause. Tap. Then nothing. Inside the control room, a tech noticed it too, the delay. He marked it as inconclusive, standard protocol, forwarded to back end. But the visiting instructor, Captain Meyer, was watching the man in the back through the reflection of the monitor screen. Saw the shift in posture. The tap, and how, right after it, Reyes stopped mid-sentence again during sim playback. Sir? The tech asked Meyer. Run it back, Meyer replied quietly. Which segment? 2 seconds before the stall. Audio on. The playback clicked. Reyes's voice ran clean. An approach vector holds steady if we ride the cross flow into. Silence. Tap. Then Reyes's voice, thinner. I think the vector slipped. Meyer leaned forward. Looked through the glass toward the man in the annex, still seated. Hands folded now. Eyes forward. Not watching the sim. Watching how they watched it. That wasn't a glitch, Meyer said. The tech frowned. You think someone flagged it? Meyer stood. Slow. His hand rested on the console as he spoke, eyes still locked to the old man's silhouette. No. I think someone felt it. Later, Reyes caught up with Meyer near the stairwell. That guy. Back row. You know him? Meyer didn't answer for a moment, then said, Not by name. Reyes waited. Meyer glanced back once toward the annex. But the way he watches errors, he's not reading them, he's remembering them. The maneuver wasn't in the manual. It appeared near the end of Flight Sim 3, buried in a late-stage recovery sequence that shouldn't have triggered at all. A sharp drop, counter-tilt, roll stall correction, followed by a sudden climb into blind sky. No voice prompt. No pre-approved reflex path, just muscle memory. The tech running the sim flagged it as non-standard behavior. Captain Meyer replayed the file 3 times. The rhythm of it was too precise to be an accident. It wasn't flailing. It was clean. Tight focus under pressure. And someone had taught it. But not here. Not anymore. The simulator room was quiet that morning, fluorescent lights humming above, console lights soft and waiting. Reyes stood beside the display with arms crossed, reviewing footage frame by frame. I didn't think I entered that pattern, he said. Meyer stepped closer. You didn't. Reyes looked over, confused. Then what was it? Meyer didn't answer. Not directly. He turned, walked through the side door into the annex. The lights dimmed slightly behind him. The old man was already seated. Same posture. Boots flat. Eyes forward. Not waiting. Just present. Meyer didn't sit. He stood one pace away. Spoke quietly. Where did you learn the spiral climb reflex? The man didn't react. Didn't nod. Didn't blink. But his fingers tapped once against his thigh. A beat. Almost soundless. We retired that move after '04, Meyer said softly. Still no answer. Then, without looking at him, the man spoke. His voice was calm. Unhurried. Only if you assume the ceiling still exists. Meyer stared. A moment passed, not of silence, but of compression. Like the walls had narrowed. He spoke again, but this time his voice was low. Measured. That move saved Reyes. It bought him 4 seconds, the man said. He used 2 of them right. Meyer didn't ask anything else. Didn't need to. But as he turned to leave, the man added, barely audible. Ceilings change. You better hope he remembers how. That night, Reyes searched the training logs. No entry on Spiral Climb Reflex. No formal mention of the maneuver after 2004. But in a declassified flight review buried under miscellaneous patterns, he found a hand-drawn diagram. Black ink. No name. Just a signature mark in the corner. Black small square. 2 dots. Aligned. Tilted. He recognized it now. The tap. The operations office had no windows. Just dull ceiling lights and laminated checklists pinned crookedly on beige walls. A screen buzzed faintly in the corner, playing silent flight deck footage on loop. Reyes stood near the desk, waiting. Commander Lenning leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes unmoving. You're asking about the man in the back row, he said flatly. Reyes nodded. Yes, sir. I think he's more than just a contractor. Lenning didn't respond right away. Instead, he reached into the desk drawer, pulled out a manila folder, thin, with no label. He slid it forward without opening it. Reyes stared at it. That's his record? That's all we're allowed to have, Lenning replied. Reyes opened it slowly. Inside, 1 page. Most of it blank. Just a contractor ID number. Civilian clearance. No prior service listed. And at the bottom, handwritten. No public chain. Archived by request. Reyes frowned. He saved the sim team. He knew a maneuver none of us were trained on. Doesn't that matter? Lenning looked at him long and hard. Not irritated. Not cold. Just tired. Lieutenant. Some people served in shadows deep enough to burn your name off the wall just for saying it out loud. He tapped the folder once with his knuckle. That man trained before we tracked training. Why is he here? Because he asked to be. Reyes didn't answer. Just stood there, folder still open, eyes on the empty space where a name should be. After a moment, Lenning added quietly. If he's watching again, it's not because we invited him. That evening, Reyes returned to the annex. The lights were dim. Chairs empty. Except for the last row. Same man. Same posture. But this time, just before Reyes turned to leave, the man looked at him. A flicker. Direct. No smile. Then, softly, They told you not to ask. They did, Reyes replied. The man nodded once. Then you're ready to listen. They were calibrating emergency restart drills, standard simulator resets under artificial failure, low altitude, engine stall, partial blackout. A clean test of reflex and procedure. 3 pilots, 2 instructors, 1 tech, and 1 man seated in the back. He didn't move, didn't take notes, didn't even watch the monitors, but his eyes followed the pacing of the voices, the shift in tone, the way Reyes paused before calling out his throttle check. The drill was fine. Until it wasn't. A sudden static crack broke the loop. A flash screen error. Someone cursed under their breath. Reyes' hands froze at the console, not because the sim had failed, but because the script didn't match the moment. There was no protocol now, just reaction. Then, behind the row of seats, a quiet sound. Not words, not instruction. A single, sharp click of the tongue. Twice, followed by a faint movement of the hand. Palm open, fingers together, tilt left, then down. Captain Meyer turned, his eyes locked on the man. Then slowly, without a word, he stepped out from behind the instructor's table and walked down the aisle. No one spoke. Even the tech stopped typing. Meyer halted 3 feet from the back row. He didn't salute. He didn't speak. He simply stood there, eyes locked on the old man's hand, now still, resting again on his knee. After a moment he nodded, and the man nodded back. Reyes looked between them, confused, but not questioning. The others didn't react. They didn't need to. They knew. Or maybe they didn't. But something in the air had changed. Later that day, Reyes found Meyer near the hangar stairwell. "What was that hand signal?" he asked quietly. Meyer didn't answer at first, then said, "Off-book rescue command. No longer taught. Retired from doctrine." "Why?" "Because no one left knew how to respond to it." Meyer placed a hand gently on the rail, looked out at the flight line. He used it once, long before this place had walls, and every pilot who saw it followed it home. The hangar office hadn't been renovated in years. Some corners smelled faintly of oil-soaked paper. There were still filing drawers that groaned when opened, rusted where the metal curled. Reyes wasn't looking for anything. Not officially. But something kept pulling him back. He found the folder under a box of defunct safety tags. No label. No barcode. Just a leather string wrapped twice around a cardboard sleeve, weathered from time, corners crushed from weight. He opened it carefully. Inside, a photo. Black and white. Film grain sharp enough to feel like static. 6 men stood in a hangar. Flight suits. No ranks. No unit insignia. No flag. They weren't smiling. But they weren't blank either. They looked ready. At the center of the photo, one man crouched by an auxiliary tank panel, one hand resting casually on the chassis, fingers aligned. Palm open. Tilted left, then down. The same signal. It was him. The man in the back row. Younger, but unmistakable. Eyes like carved stone. On the back of the photo, someone had written by hand, for the ones who never asked for credit. No date. No names. Just a mark in pencil. 2 small dots side by side. Tilted. Black small square, black small square. Reyes traced them once with his thumb. That evening, he approached the annex again. Lights low. Floor quiet. The man was already seated. He didn't look over as Reyes sat in the row ahead. Didn't speak, until Reyes set the photo beside him, face down. The man placed his hand gently over it. Not to hide it, just to hold it there. Then, after a long silence, he said, "The last time that picture was seen, we were leaving airspace no one admitted existed." Reyes turned, waited. The man finally looked at him. "We weren't supposed to land again." The annex after dark was a different room. No drills. No instructors. Only the hum of the fluorescent ballast, and the sound of one clock, ticking slightly too slow. Reyes didn't knock. He just entered. Sat 2 rows behind the old man. Didn't speak. For 5 minutes neither of them moved. Then the man broke the silence. His voice, when it came, was like paper turned slowly. They called it Glass Raven. Reyes didn't ask. He didn't have to. The name itself pulled the air from the room. The man continued, without looking back. "We flew with no comms, no rescue plan, no acknowledgement. If you missed the window, you missed the map." Reyes leaned forward, barely breathing. "Was it sanctioned?" he asked. The man shook his head. "Once. It was necessary." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a folded piece of black fabric, cloth thin, soft with age. Inside it, a page, weathered but precise. A flight path, hand-drawn. Curved not by coordinates, but by wind memory. Pressure notes. Air weight. A glide route, written in the language of those who flew blind. He handed it back without ceremony. "This will never be on your briefings." "Why show me?" Reyes asked softly. The old man looked at him. Not hard. Not kind. Just present. "Because you listened when you didn't understand." A pause. Then, "And because you stalled when the data said not to." The annex lights flickered once. Reyes stared at the map. There were no legend marks. No headings. But one small note in the corner, written in faint graphite. "Window closes. Horizon lies." When Reyes stood, the old man remained seated. But before he left, Reyes turned back. "Were there others?" he asked. "Yes," the man replied quietly. Then softer. "But not many made it back with the map still inside them." The next malfunction came without warning. It wasn't a loud one. No alarm, no cascade. Just a quiet blink in the simulator's sky projection. A tiny drop in visual feed. Enough to unsettle reflexes. Enough to shake a pilot loose from procedure. Reyes caught it before the tech did. He was mid-sim. Altitude 9,800. Low light. Crosswind minor. But the weight shifted. The kind of shift no program accounted for. Not wind. Not pressure. Just absence. He felt it. And didn't follow the manual. Instead, he banked left, tilted into the drop, staggered the throttle, held for 5 seconds, then executed the blind roll, the maneuver only one other man had shown him. The Spiral Climb Reflex, the one with no name. The simulator stilled. Silence. Then a voice on comms. That move's not on record. It was the tech, confused. Another voice, Captain Meyer, added. That move wasn't supposed to exist. Reyes didn't answer. He just looked toward the back row of the annex. But the chair was empty. No coat. No boots. Just silence. The next day, the annex had been cleaned. On the table where the man always sat, someone had placed a folded piece of fabric, same as before. Inside, the hand-drawn flight path, but one new mark had been added. A note written in the same faded hand, he remembered. Later that week, the base printed an internal bulletin. It was short. Sim 9 restored. No damage. Pattern deviation logged. New reflex protocol under review. Informal name adopted. Raven Climb. No credit. No byline. Just a line at the bottom. Inspired by an observer no longer present. Reyes now sat sometimes in the back row. Not every day. Not to replace anyone. Just to watch the way others listened. Or didn't. And if a pilot stalled where the wind dipped wrong, he didn't correct them. Not out loud. He just tapped once, lightly, on the seat rail. Twice if they were close. And when the light shifted in the room, as it always did in late afternoon, he turned slightly toward the empty chair. And waited.